Welcome everybody to this week's Dissecting Design. In honor of EVO 2017, I am going to be taking a look at Skullgirls. And Skullgirls is a really important game to talk about in terms of its design, as this is one of the only examples of an indie developer really stepping up to challenge the big names in terms of the fighting game genre, as well as having some really important lessons on how to design a fighting game for new and existing fans. Also, I love this music as well. But let's get into things here. I hate to do it, but I do have to lower the music a little bit because it's so good it's distracting me from as I'm talking. Sorry, music. Anyway, Skullgirls has been out for a few years now. Like I said, this came from the independent space as a collaboration between an artist and a fighting game designer, and they decided to take their respective knowledge and design Skullgirls. There was an issue with the game and their parent company at the time that caused them to go on to Indiegogo to continue development of the game, and it was able to continue with having more content, characters, and such. This version of the game is considered the second Encore edition, which just added in additional voices and stuff like that, but I can still buy like the additional DLC and such. Before we actually start playing the game, please keep in mind that I am not a professional fighting game player. I'm not even an amateur one. So if you're expecting any kind of competitive level tips or anything that will help you be a better Skullgirls player, you can stop watching this video right now, as I'm pretty sure I'm about to embarrass myself multiple times. But I'm going to load up a match, and we're going to see the game in action, and that will be next. Now to show it off, and I gotta say I love the art style of Skullgirls. I'm playing as a character called Big Band, who was added in as part of the DLC. And again, if you play any fighting game, a lot of it should be very familiar to you. And hopefully I won't suck too bad at this, but we shall see. Again, look at all the detail there is in terms of this character. Come on. I'm trying to get combos going, but it's not easy for someone like me to do this. Let's see. But you can see the detail of the animations of all the characters here. I'm trying to do it with my super, it's not working. There we go. I think I pissed her off. Come on. Can we get her? And I'm doing this with very little knowledge of this game, if you haven't guessed by now. But this kind of detail and the fluidity of the combat is one of the reasons what made Skullgirls really popular. I'm trying to finish off with the bell. There we go.
Hair's like a woman. You treat it good, and it treats you good.
But that very quick play is, again, very beginner level of Skullgirls. And as you can see, you can tell that this was designed by, well, hopefully by someone while I'm playing, that this was designed by a fighting game player. The controls are very precise. It's actually very fluid to pull off combos, which is a big change for me, having just really flubbed it while trying to play Street Fighter V, and the kind of delay that I was noticing there. But Skullgirls is not just about the one-on-one with an AI. It of course has online play, a story mode with each character getting a full story, including a boss fight. Now when I first played this game, I beat it with a few characters. There we go. But again, notice the animation and the detail of the characters in the upper left. And a few of these characters we won't be able to show off, obviously. But each character is completely different in terms of their abilities, and as with any good fighting game, it's very easy for you to find a character that you like, be it from a move standpoint or even from a style. For instance, I really enjoy Big Band. Just from, look at that guy, he's a giant saxophone.
Big Band.
Now, if I had the full DLC, I think this would be voice acted. But the story mode, of course, follows set battles.
This is true love we're making. Action.
Let's see what we can do here. Oh, and by the way, this is on normal, so that could also explain why I'm doing somewhat okay. Uh-oh.
Now for something spectacular!
Ow.
Give me a hit.
Time to do some launches.
Sax him up. Give me a hit.
He's just like...
Shake, shake.
And of course, if we can beat her, we'll move on to the next fight. Hey, I actually did a combo almost.
All that practice.
I gotta go see a man about a dog.
But story mode is pretty simple. 1-round fights, and of course, we get little cutscenes here. And again, while this doesn't sound all that much, especially when you look at full campaigns like in Injustice and Mortal Kombat, Skullgirls is a few years old compared to those newer games. Let's see what we can do against my mirror. Oh. Maybe he'll know what he's doing more than me. Now, the additional DLC does add in a trial. I actually did something cool there. Can we finish it with a super? Yeah! That's probably the extent of how cool I'll be able to play this game. But let's hop out of the story mode for a second.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime!
And also, if you don't know this about me, I'm a huge fan of this kind of hand-drawn animation. It's also why I'm really excited about Cuphead. But like I was saying, if I had the full DLC, there would be additional trials and single-player content. But in the original release, you had the story mode, arcade mode, and of course, online multiplayer, which we will not be showing off because I will get killed even faster there. But Skullgirls, from a professional standpoint, was considered, or I think it's still considered, very popular due to its fidelity of controls and just the speed of play. But while that's all well and good for the expert players, what about people like me who have no idea what the hell frame canceling is, any of that? Well, this is one of the advantages that Skullgirls had being designed by someone who played fighting games competitively. And we're going to talk about the one thing that Skullgirls has done better than any of its big name counterparts, and we'll do that next. Alright, so we've talked a little bit about Skullgirls, we've played, but now it's time to talk about what it did so well that not even the major AAA fighting games have managed to catch up on, and that is in the tutorial design. When it comes to fighting games, it feels like story and tutorials are usually left by the wayside when it comes to building a fighting game. But what Skullgirl did really well, hold on, I'm going to lower the sound a little bit more, even though the music's really great, is have a tutorial meant for everybody. Now this is the basic one, as you can tell here, but this is still important, because you have to assume that people are going to be playing your game who have never touched a fighting game before. Again, this is Tutorial 1, Section 1.
Now you're playing with power.
Now let me get back to the tutorial menu here, and we'll go down the line. Now obviously we're not going to do the whole thing.
Hold it.
We're not quite ready for that one, especially since I haven't played this in a while. But if we look over here, tutorials are broken down by chapters as well as lessons. So the chapters basically go from beginner to super advanced. While within each lesson, we're introduced to essentially the basics of what it means to play a fighting game. And there's something that I want you to notice here. The very first chapter, in terms of its lessons, is not character specific. All this is doing is teaching us the absolute basic elements of a fighting game. These are things that basically, if you've never played a fighting game before, you would need to know this. Okay, so it's showing us the difference in moves. There we go. And it's going to teach us about the blockbuster attack. Let's see if we can do this right. You get used to these controls. There you go. And again, for those of you watching this who are competent in fighting games, this is nothing to you. You've probably have done all this stuff more times than you can probably remember. But again, when it comes to teaching someone, you have to assume that there are people who have never touched another fighting game before. And the Skullgirls tutorial works brilliantly in this regard. So again, this first chapter is just basically foundations of fighting games. Chapter 2 is a little bit more advanced. Hit confirmations. Again, this kind of stuff you rarely see people talk about. Let's see, what is medium kick?
Nothing.
I know, we can look at the menu there. Did I do it? I can. I'm messing up somehow. Which is really great when you're trying to do a video. Oh, it's crouching. There we go, that's better. Again, this kind of stuff, hit confirmations, frame canceling, this is not stuff that you would see most other fighting games talk about. There we go. So, now I get the confirmation.
It's nothing.
Come on. Oop. Again, you can see how great I am at fighting games while trying to do this tutorial. There we go. And again, these kinds of elements are definitely what makes up advanced play. And more importantly, this is the kind of stuff that takes someone from playing this game against AI and going up against the computer, or going up against real matches. So again, hit confirmations, punishing, mix-ups. When I've played other tutorials, they rarely, if not ever, cover this kind of stuff. At most, you get a lesson about special moves, you get a lesson about throwing, and then that's about it. So again, we have basic chains, advanced chains, canceling into special attacks. Now this is something that I've never done, or been able to do whenever I played a game. So I'm sure this should go swimmingly. Second. Alright. And it's nice, another great thing, it actually tells you what the special moves and their commands are. It doesn't just say, do this command and that's it. Alright, so let's see here. So that's that. I am not sure if I'm doing this right. Cancel, use hairball just as... Oh, okay. No moves can also be canceled. Okay. And being able to teach someone like this in a limited or constrained environment is a great way for them to understand how things work and get a chance to try it out. So let's see if I can even do this. Special cancels, just like specials, hit with hairball and follow up. Let's see what happens. Not bad. Oh, good. If I can actually pull this off, that will be actually quite interesting. Wait, what's standing? Okay. By the way, I will never be able to pull that off in a competitive setting. Let's just get that out there right now.
Just perfect.
Now we come over here and get back to the tutorial lessons themselves. Again, we have advanced tactics. Still not dealing with character-specific stuff. Because that's the important thing, is that all these elements right here are universal to playing Skullgirls, or by essence, universal to playing a fighting game. So why confuse things by forcing you to learn Sub-Zero's special moves before you learn about combos? And this is a very important way of designing tutorials, and is a good way of basically developing the hierarchy of learning. Or what order should you be teaching the player these elements? So just to reiterate, we start with the absolute basics, again, things universal to the game, then we get more advanced, and so on. Now, one thing that's very interesting about this, the basic moves of these characters, that would still be considered something simpler than learning how to cancel special moves, air chains, and stuff like that. But that is still less of a priority compared to these universal techniques. So you basically have to go through 4 chapters and about 15, 25 different lessons before you're even given the opportunity to learn a character specifically. And then these are just for all the characters, including the ones that are added. But now, before we wrap this part up, let's take a look at what the actual character tutorials are. First, it actually teaches you what this character is, in terms of what makes them special. It's not just, here's a bunch of special moves, go and use them. This is telling us a little bit about Fila. Again, we're being taught each one at a time. And each lesson, or each move, is given its own time to breathe. If I can ever learn how to cancel stuff, I'll be dangerous. Okay. And just take note of how the tutorial is presenting the moves and how they're teaching you what they do. Oh, there we go. old Hadouken. Got it. Let's see if we can actually do this. Just connect this. There we go. And there's even more advanced stuff in this game as well. Again, we're just going over the basics. And again, tutorial just goes over all the essential elements of this character. We head back over here. And again, these lessons are pretty much, they're not required for you. They're just essentially bonuses for learning each character. And once you found a character that you like, you're not really needed to do them. But the game expects you to at least do the first 4 chapters. Because again, these are all the universal elements. And again, we could just sit here and go through each one, but that's going to do it for this part. So with that said, we're going to head back to the main screen, maybe put some game footage on the background. We'll talk about or wrap up my thoughts on Skullgirls. So see you all in a second. We're back in the tutorial or the training room here, just so I can go over my final thoughts of the game, and you can watch Big Bang here kick some butt. Hopefully, if I can actually hit things. So Skullgirls is a really good example of a fighting game that's really built for all skill sets. And again, despite not having a lot of the bonus single-player content, at least at launch compared to games like Mortal Kombat 10 and Injustice, it's still a really great game for someone who has no skill or understanding of fighting games and how to get into them for the first time. I think another really important part about the game is just how great it was to have someone who is a professional fighting games player as part of the design team. Someone who's gone through learning everything and trying to be able to deliver that information to someone new. When you have someone who's been doing this professionally, they know what are the hardest elements of the game and what's important for someone brand new or trying to get in at a competitive level. And being able to put that kind of knowledge into the game is just amazing. I had to concentrate on that combo for a second too. But lessons learned from Skullgirls. First one, again, is about the tutorial. You really need a good tutorial if you're expecting people to want to play your game. And not just those who are of the esports caliber. Being able to teach in that hierarchy of learning is really smart design, and again, something that any game designer, even not just in the fighting game genre, should take note of. Now, in terms of problems or criticisms I have with Skullgirl, really, it's not my place to talk about them. I'm not a professional fighting game player, so it would be like as someone who studies cars or test drives cars giving a cooking review. It just doesn't work. But for those of you who are professional or probably more advanced than I am at fighting games, what did you make of Skullgirls when it was released? Again, coming from the independent side like this really puts it in a different spot compared to, again, your Street Fighters, Mortal Kombats, and of course stuff like Guilty Gear and so on. And while it may not have all the comforts of those games in terms of advanced features, you know, fully animated cutscenes and stuff like that, this is still a good, solid fighting game. And if I can put together simple combos and look semi-good like this, then I'm sure people who are actually good at these games will be able to do much better than I can. But I think with that said, we're going to wrap things up here. Again, I gotta point out how much I love this design of Big Band. It just is. I don't know why, but I just love how this guy looks. But with that said, we're gonna wrap things up. For those of you watching this, here's a quick question for you. Can you think of other fighting games with a tutorial as involved and as well thought out as Skullgirls? Let me know in the comments below. And if you would like to suggest another game for me to look at for a Dissecting Design, please let me know in the comments. But be sure to like and subscribe if you're new, and check back daily for more videos on game design here and on GameWisdom.com, where we examine the art and science of games. You'll find the Dissecting Design pieces usually go up every Monday. Now before we go, I am really...
Step off, square.
What was that?
Ain't having none of that.
I was trying to do one of his combos. Can I get it to work before we go? There you go. That's that. Can we pull off a super combo? I don't think so, but let's see. Again, I am so horrible at combos in these games. We may just have to... Oh, and look, here's our ever-popular command list. There you go, Super Jazz. Come on, I have to get it working at least once, right? Why can't I get this working right? Alright, let's end things here before I embarrass myself even further. So, thanks again for watching, and I will see you all next time. Take care. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and come back around 10 Eastern for regular streaming. For a collection of my writings as well as weekly podcasts on game development, be sure to check out game-wisdom.com. Follow me on Twitter at GWBycer for updates throughout the day. And to help support everything that I do, you can find me on Patreon under GWBycer or Game Wisdom. Your donations can help to keep things running, and we hit some goals, it will mean more content for everyone to enjoy. So, thanks again for watching, and be sure to come back for daily discussions on game design on the Game Wisdom channel.